Dada for the sound of the bell. Mind calm, body at ease, breathing quiet, sentiment benevolent. Dharma friends sitting still in vital silence, wanting nothing, we practice eco-Buddhism together. The sound of the temple bell booms for all to cease from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of non-violent global village forever. Here is the after sound of the bell. Thunder of silence, light after Dharma rain. Amoga. Varochana Mahamudra. Mani Padme Jvala Pravartaya Hu.
Please stand for the chanting of the three refuges, first in Sino-Korean, in keeping with our tradition, and then in English. Chi sim Hue
Shivang Samse Chemang Chale Samju Ilche Chisim Quimyane Sivan Sanse Chemang Chale Samju Ilche Chisim Guimyane Shivang Sanse Chemang Chale Sanju Ilche
I go for refuge to the Buddha
I go for refuge to the Buddha
and resolve with all beings
and resolve with all beings.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment
and realize the great way.
and realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma
I go for refuge to the Dharma
and resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings
I will penetrate the teachings
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha
I go for refuge to the Sangha
and resolve with all beings.
and resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many
I will seek peace and happiness for the many
and transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
and transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
Please return for another short period of meditation before our Dharma talk. Please join in some simple mindfulness practices that help to embody. Mom is going to read to us from the Dhammapada. What is the title of the chapter?
Yourself.
From the chapter, Yourself. This is the Thomas Byram version of the Dhammapada.
Mischief is yours, sorrow is yours, but virtue also is yours, and purity. You are the source of all purity and all impurity. No one purifies another. Never neglect your work for another's, however great their need. Your work is to discover your work, and then with all your heart, to give yourself to it.
Can I please help get open to that page? That's great, thank you. over here in Michigan at the temple, our Dewey duck is in the pond. She wouldn't go in with the chickens last night. The chickens are in the coop. And after morning practice and breakfast, here we are, always in the process of our work is to discover our work and with all our hearts to give ourselves to it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome in from the 10 directions. It's always good when I look at the chat sometime after to see who've been with us. It's also kind of awesome. I always hope that in our presentation of this service, we offer some good Dharma for you. Good morning. I'm kind of a rusher. I go pretty fast, and so I've got this bell. It's been around for 30, I bet it's been around for 40 years. And I'm going to look at it, and sometimes I'm going to ring it. I hope I remember, so that we can stop and breathe and be in touch with our bodies. So that's the first little lesson I would like to offer you today, is to, from time to time, and hopefully we'll have some pauses with the bell, but you will also take some pauses. And I'm going to try to go slow. To do your breathing, but center it from time to time on your heartbeat. So you can find it in your heart, you can find it in your wrist, you can find it at the side of your neck. Breathing in with that heartbeat, maybe to count 5, and breathing out, counting 5. So we really get in to your body and into your heart, which affects, its beat affects the whole body, as does the breathing. And we get a little bit out of the cerebral thinking, reacting of our brain, and we can calm that in a way with this meditation. Sometimes, in my case, I'm really a slow breather, so I just do breathing in 3 heartbeats and breathing out 3 heartbeats. You may have more heartbeats faster, so you may do 7 or 10. So let's just take a few moments to get in touch with your heartbeat. Actually put your hand somewhere on your body where you can feel your heart's rhythm. After a while, it becomes second nature, but it takes a while to really get the feel of it. And then as you breathe in 3 or 5 heartbeats, whatever yours is, you let your inner eye come to that place. Let's do that for just a few times, in and out. Inner eye. are getting it? I hope so. I wish I could be right with you, because a lot of times I can see if the inner eye is really focused in toward the inside of the body, the heart, the breathing inside. So easy for us to have our eye out and wandering around. That usually means thinking. So as I give this talk, try to be in touch with that heart count breathing. And this morning, I am going to offer some of my real life stories to start with, to sort of exemplify getting stuck in habitual patterns and then seeing through them. And then I'm going to take you to the life of the Buddha when there was a getting stuck in the Sangha, when sides were taken, and relate that story and how it unfolded and some of the lessons that we can take from that. So in going to all of these, it's about going to the Buddha and trying to allow my awakened heart to come forth, going to the Dharma, penetrating the teachings, and to the Sangha, to seek peace and happiness for all beings. It's a kind of serious time. So let's start with the stories. Some of you may have heard the first one. And during my life, since I became a mother, I always have a lot of stories about my children and now my grandchildren. And I take a lot of delight in these stories, and I also learn a lot from them. And this story, I asked my daughters over the years, I said, Mom, would you please not give Dharma talks about our lives? So before I decided to tell you the story, I talked to my daughter and I said, is it all right if I tell this story? And she said, yes, Mom. It was only that story when I started menstruating that I really didn't like you telling. So this is the story. My daughter has she's in her second marriage, so she has 2 children from her first marriage and 2 stepchildren. And she's been having a challenge with her son, her own son. And just one phone call, she said to me, I just want to give him to his father. I just don't feel able to really take care of him well, Mom. She said, I think I just need to check myself into the psych ward. And when I heard that, I just, over the years, there's been some really difficult times, and she's a brilliant person. And so I felt so badly that she felt so down. That I've known that my meddling and my suggestions have not always been well taken. And I want to respect, her life and situations that she's in as a result of choices, actually from beginning this time that she's in the midst of. So the days went by, and I always check her Facebook page because I can kind of tell the temperature, and it seemed like she was not checked into the psych ward, and there were lots of pictures of her son doing well. So the next time I talked to her, I said, how's it going? And she said, much better, Mom. And I said, how so? I always ask, could you please be more specific? And she said, I will tell you a story. She said, my son and all the rest of us were at dinner. And before dinner, he'd been begging for a snack. And I told him, she said, that he could have that special snack after he ate his dinner. And there was a big row about that. He was really especially chippy that evening. And when they all sat down at the table, he did a kind of harumph, picked up his plate and threw it in the garbage. And she had an inward harumph in back, but she had determined that she was not going to harumph back and scream, and because that had been what had happened, because she had been so triggered. And so she hung on to the table. In our tradition, I remember Sunam telling a story of one of our members who hung on to the kitchen table to keep his family together. Well, my daughter, she just hung on to the table, and her stepdaughter said to her, what are you doing? And my daughter said, I'm trying to prevent myself from doing the usual thing that I do with my son, which is scream and yell and give him a timeout and leave him in the room. And so she hung on to the table, and she calmed herself, went to her son, went in to the timeout room with him, and spent the whole time listening to him. Usually she was just glad to get him out of the fray and shut the door, but she stayed there. She stayed really with and asked what was happening. And it turned out that he'd had a really terrible day at school, and it started in the morning at his dad's house, and it just had been a really awful day. So his chippiness in the late afternoon, early evening was more than usual. And my daughter understood why. And together they calmed down. He being listened to, she really listening. They came out of the room. She got him another plate of food. He squawked a little bit because he still was thinking of that snack, but he ate it. And then the snack. And then the whole rest of the evening unfolded much more peacefully than it would have been had she jumped up and shaken him and thrown him in the timeout room, which had sometimes been the case. So there's a kind of wonderful story to me about how she didn't respond to her habitual patterns. She hung on to the table, metaphorically speaking, so that I know she really did hang on to the table, but she allowed herself to get into a kind of non-reacting state, breathing deeply, and then turning and vowing to go ahead in a better way than usual. So that's story number one. The next story is of one of our residents, about two of our residents here. And we were all together in the kitchen cleaning up after a meal. And one resident was washing the dishes, and the water was running for the rinsing. And she turned to us and she said, "It just drives me crazy when water is wasted, like just running out the tap and down the drain." And she turned to us. She said, "When I'm with my family and that happens, I get really, really upset. What do you guys do? So then one of our residents said, well, what about turning and really looking at the water running? And it was. And she did, and we did. And so really looking deeply at the situation. No need to shout and to be so irritated with family members as she said she was when they left water running. But instead, a place to just simply do what she could do and be with it. Turn down the water, maybe. And then the third story, it happened to me with my cell phone. I was trying to put in the password, and it would not work. In fact, it seemed like the phone was going a little crazy. So as that happened, I just put in the password a little harder and more firmly. And it kept getting kind of wild. And I thought, oh, I guess my phone is dead. It's just not working anymore. It has been somehow damaged. So I tried this approach a couple more times, and then I said, let me just try it lightly. Because it turns out that if you just gently tap, it was back into functioning. So then I was thinking a lot of times, I just go so hard. I get really in an adversarial position with my phone, and it does not function as a result of that. So we're talking about the divisions that can arise even with the simplest little parts of our lives, in our families, just with the common, ordinary things around us. And sometimes this happens a tremendous amount more easily these days because we're all on some kind of high alert, a lot of tension, a lot of challenges. So I decided we need to look to see what the Buddha did with similar things to this. And many years ago, when we were, maybe when I was more in the center part of Peace Camp, but let's have a little break before I get to that, so that you can just kind of settle a little bit and see if you're picking up a little Dharma and get to your heart and breath. So I was preparing for Peace Camp, and I was conducting the circle at Peace Camp in those days, and I always was trying to find good stories that would apply to the camp from the life of the Buddha. So it happened that I was reading a book by Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't remember which one, and I found a story, and I thought this would be a really good Peace Camp story. So I told it for many years while I was still taking care of the circle, the morning circle. And then it's been told pretty much since then. and I've introduced it to the Sangha here. And at least one mother said to me, she's from Toledo a few years ago, that she took home the guidelines from this story, put it on her refrigerator, and helped her family to try to practice them. So I'd like to share this story. And I'm going to use some sections from where it's really well told in Thich Nhat Hanh's Old Path, White Clouds. It's very user-friendly account of the life of the Buddha, but it also is true to the scriptures. So for each chapter, he lists where he got it from the Agamas and from the Vedas and the Nikayas and from other sources. So we can go back and find this story which Thich Nhat Hanh has put together. So let me see. I should be able to tell it all by heart because I have told it before a lot, but I don't think I can. So I'm going to, from time to time, read. Sometimes other people's words are better than mine. Okay, this took place at a monastery in the Goshira forest. And like the Goshira Forest Monastery and other monasteries that were being established at this time, and this was about 10 years after the Buddha's enlightenment, there were groups of people, and some of them were dedicated to study, some of them were dedicated to the precepts and keeping the rules. And in this particular monastery, there was a master of keeping the rules, and there was a sutra master of keeping the teachings. And it turns out that the sutra master, a conflict arose between the sutra master, who was keeping the sutras, and the precept master, who was keeping the rules. And the precept master accused the sutra master of not cleaning his basin properly. And the sutra master was a little proud, and he said, "What? It was not my intention to not take care of my basin, wash basin. So I am not guilty because I just did it unintentionally." And so from Thich Nhat Hanh, a sutra master forgot to clean out the wash basin he'd used and was charged with a violation of a lesser precept by the precept master. The sutra master, a proud person, this was not intentional, so I am not to blame. The precept master disagreed, and the students took sides. One side accused the other of slander, while the other side accused of acting foolishly. The precept master publicly announced that the sutra master could not attend the bi-weekly precept ceremony. So the situation grew worse. The situation grew more and more intense. Though the Buddha was residing not far from the monastery, he was unaware of the conflict until a delegation of concerned bhikkhus visited him and told him of it and asked him to intervene. The bhikkhu went to meet directly with the precept master and told him, "We should not become too attached to our own viewpoint. We should listen carefully in order to understand the other's viewpoint. We should seek all means to prevent the community from breaking." Then he went to the sutra master and said the same things. Returning to his hut, he was hopeful the two men would reconcile. But the Buddha's intervention did not have the desired effect. Too many ill words had already been spoken. Many wounds had been inflicted. The bhikkhus who remained impartial did not possess enough influence to bring the two sides together. The conflict reached the ears of the lay disciples, and before long, even other religious sects have heard of the trouble in the Buddha's Sangha. It was a serious blow to the integrity of the Sangha. Nagita, the Buddha's attendant, was unable to endure the situation anymore. He discussed the matter again with the Buddha, beseeching him to intervene once more. The Buddha put on his outer robe and went at once to the monastery's meeting hall. Nagita rang the bell to summon the community. When all were present, the Buddha said, "Please cease your arguing. It is only creating division in the community. Please return to your practice. If we truly follow our practice, we will not become victims of pride and anger." One bhikkhu stood up and said, "Master, please don't involve yourself in this matter. Return and dwell peacefully in your meditation. This matter does not concern you. We are adults and capable of resolving this on our own." Again, please return to your breathing. And awareness of your beating heart. Dead silence followed the bhikkhu's words. The Buddha stood up and left the meeting hall. He returned to his hut, picked up his bowl, and walked down into Kosambi to beg. When he was finished begging, he entered the forest to eat alone. Then he stood up and walked out of Kosambi. He headed for the river. He did not tell anyone of his departure, not even his attendant, Nagita, or Venerable Ananda. Then the Buddha walked to a town called Bala Kalona Karagama, where his disciple Bhagu was practicing as a hermit. And he said, when they greeted, "How are you doing?" "Because you're practicing alone." And his disciple Bhagu said, "I feel great ease and joy in my practice. Dwelling alone, I feel great ease and joy." And the Buddha says, "Sometimes it's more pleasant to live alone than with many people." And he went on walking. And he came to the eastern bamboo forest, wishing to enter, but the attendant was about to refuse him. But one of the monks, Aniruddha, who with two other monks, Nandaya and Kimbala, greeted the Buddha and welcomed him in. And they prepared a basin of water for him to wash up. And the Buddha asked these three bhikkhus, and then, how is the practice for you? And are you encountering any difficulties? So then they responded. Anuruddha answered, Lord, we are very content here. It is calm and peaceful. We receive ample food offerings and are able to share the Dharma. We are all making progress in our practice. The Buddha asks, do you live in harmony with one another? Anuruddha said, Lord, we care deeply for each other. We live in harmony like milk and honey. I consider living with Nandaya and Kimbala a great blessing. I treasure their friendship. Before I say or do anything, whether they are present or not, I stop and ask myself what their reaction would be. Would my words or actions disappoint my brothers in any way? If I feel doubts, I refrain from the words or actions intended. Lord, although we are three persons, we are also one. Kambala said, Anuruddha speaks the truth. We live in harmony and care deeply for each other. Nandaya added, we share all things from our food to our insight and experience. The Buddha praised them. Excellent, I am most pleased to see how you live in harmony. A Sangha is only a true Sangha when such harmony exists. You have experienced real awakening, and that is why you have realized such harmony. So the Buddha spent a month with Anuruddha, Kimbala, and Nandaya, just watching them and practicing with them. And when he was about to leave, as a result of what he had seen and experienced with them, he presented something which has come to be called the 6 harmonies. And he said, I believe harmony can be realized by following these principles. Okay? Back to body awareness, breath, heart awareness. 1, sharing a common space such as a forest or a home. 2, sharing the essentials of daily life together. 3, observing the precepts together, the essence of not to harm, but to cherish all life. 4, using only words that contribute to harmony, avoiding all words that can cause the community to break, speaking from the heart. 5, sharing insights and understanding together. We say, aha! Sharing insights and understanding together. 6, respecting others' viewpoints and not forcing another to follow your own viewpoint. We come. Deep listening. We have a bunch of pantomimes to go with each of these for camp, but I think that you can imagine, number 1, sharing a common space, such as a forest or home. For us, sharing the planet. 2, sharing the essentials of daily life together. We've all become more cognizant of that at this time of pandemic. 3, observing the precepts together. 4, using only words that contribute to harmony, avoiding all words that can cause the community to break. 5, sharing insights and understanding together. One of the values of this is to really get a taste of other people's viewpoints and their essential humanity. 6, respecting other people's viewpoints, deep listening, and not forcing another to follow your own viewpoint. Now, then the Buddha said, a Sangha that follows these principles will have happiness and harmony. Let us always observe these 6 harmonies. So I know at this point, let's just have another formal pause. My heartbeat has speeded up a little bit. I wonder if you notice that for yourself. Yeah. So I see that really I only have about 4 or 5 minutes left, and I have about another half hour of things I wanted to share with you. I'm going to just put them in a nutshell with the promise that the next time I get an opportunity to give a talk, I will continue in much more detail. The Buddha left Aniruddha, Nandaya, and Kumbhala, and he went to the forest, and he stayed there for the whole season and got to know a mother elephant and her 2 babies. She would sometimes bring fruit to him, and he followed them down to the lake, spent a lot of time, even learned to trumpet like she did. So he was fully in the forest, and I think he would slip away to the nearby town for begging for his food. And nobody picked out that he was the Buddha, because there's a lot of monks at that time, bhikkhus. And then finally, after 6 months, he went back to one of the monasteries, the Jetavana monastery, and the disciples were so happy to see him. They had searched for him at a certain point, but could not find him. And he said, how's things at Goshira Forest? And they said, well, they got worse before they got better. And he said, they said to him that at a certain point, the lay people refused to support the bhikkhus anymore because they were so divided. And so it came to a place where they really had to look at their situations. And so the precept master and the sutra master are coming. They're coming here to Jetavana Monastery, and they would like to do confession. So the Buddha said, yes, let us accept them and others from the Goshira forest. And he talked with many of the disciples who had gathered there. Even Gautami, Bhikkhuni Gautami Buddha, who had been his stepmother, was among those present. And they had deep talks about how to work with situations where there was division and problems, and where those who chose not to be in the division could hardly handle the situation because there was such division. And together, after the confessions of the Sutra Master and of the Precept Master, they developed 7 procedures for reconciliation. Really kind of, I think, very good ones and noble ones, which brought the whole community together to hear the situation and to work with the situation and to come to some solutions for the situation. All of the Sangha involved. There's a lot to say about each of those 7 methods of reconciliation, because I don't think that they're just applicable to the big Sangha. I think they can be applicable in every situation of our lives. We can take parts of them to help when things feel like they're getting divisive. I have a couple of things to share. There's a woman who's the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Her name is Jacinda Ardern. And I saw a picture of her. She's a young woman. She looks very beautiful. And she's apparently been doing a wonderful job during the pandemic with New Zealand and with some of the difficulties they've had with volcanoes erupting there and other problems in New Zealand. And this past year, besides all of that, she had a baby. So this is this person who is in the middle of birthing, and she's also got a country to take care of. And sometimes I think we feel like that we're in the middle of birthing something, and wow, have we ever got a country to take care of? And she said these things, which I appreciate so much. We will govern positively. We will build back better. We will govern positively. We will build back better. This is our opportunity. And those words, I think, can be applied to all of our situation. We will build back positively. We will build back better. This is our opportunity. And from the Dhammapada, our work is discover our work. And with all our hearts, to give ourselves to it. It's not about donning a new profession. It's about the work of each moment. That's what we've got. The work of each moment. It is not that we cannot do it. It's that we do not do it. It's going to be pretty challenging. We've been building a path here of rocks. One of our former residents is building it, and he's put his whole heart into it. And he wants to make sure every rock is placed so it's stable and beautifully put and functional for the temple and the Sangha. Gosh, it's taking so long that he refuses to compromise his ideals of beauty and doing a very good job. Many thanks for that spirit. Sometimes it's hard to put up with it. We just want to get done. Yeah. Let's keep at it, dear friends. It's worth it. We're worth it. The whole planet needs us to keep at it. So as Albert Camus said, and we forget this about ourselves, in the midst of hate, I found there was within me an invincible love. In the midst of tears, I found there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of chaos, I found there was within me an invincible calm. I realized through it all that in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. And that makes me happy, for it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back. Amen. Amen means so be it. So now Hayun is going to give some announcements. And Ma'um is running the show. Let's hope you don't sit back, Mom, because the cords are all right behind you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Hajisunim. I wanted to tell you about some things that are happening very specially for us to build back better here in our little neck of the woods. First, next Sunday, we have a very special day during our 10 a.m. service. One of our Dharma guardians, Sabang Pat Stuckey, is going to be receiving her Dharma Guardian certificate in a ceremony that Haji Sunim will officiate, and she will become a Dharma Guardian. And for those of you who don't know, Dharma Guardians are part of the leadership structure here at the temple, and they really help in so many ways us to sort of function, and they are our eyes and ears and hands and feet. Working in so many different ways. So it's really a leadership group. And so we're so happy to welcome Sabam to that group. She's been playing a leadership role for a long time in the Sangha in terms of refuge recovery and other ways, but you'll hear more about it. So please join us next Sunday. Also, I wanted to tell you about a new program of meditation, sort of brushing up and training, deepening your practice that Ma'um is going to be running as a meditation course if you're interested. And that's going to be on 4 successive Thursdays, beginning on the 29th of October from 6:30 to 8 o'clock or 8:30, or maybe it's 7. Is it, Mom, 7 or 6:30?
From 7 to 8:30.
7 to 8:30. So yeah, that will be happening starting the 29th. So call us or write to us at Ann Arbor Zen Temple at gmail.com if you're interested. And then finally, we're going to be starting yoga classes again virtually very soon. So stay tuned for our e-bulletin, or next week when you come to this service. Hopefully we'll have more information about, it'll be Tuesdays the way it always was. You'll just be doing it in front of your computer screen rather than at the temple at this point. So we're really excited. Our teacher, David Black, will be here again leading it. So he'll be online leading it for us. So lastly, just thank you so much for your support. Someday we're going to be able to get together again. We know it, it's going to happen. But for now, we have to greet each other through these various technology avenues. And so I hope you have a nice, warm day and a peaceful day. So I'm going to turn it back to Haji Sunim to do the 4 great vows and end our service. If Ma'um can change the camera around.
Please close your eyes. Those who get dizzy, it will take just a moment to reposition things.
All right. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Blind passions, one root, I vow to terminate. Dharma gates, one mind, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to realize.